Hi Year 11. Welcome to this masterclass on gender in 12th night. As with all of these videos, we're going to work together towards answering an open essay question, the kind that CIE might ask you in the exam. So this is the question that we're going to work towards answering today. In 12th night, how does Shakespeare present gender? And as with the other masterclass videos, I've thought of some ideas here that would be the things that I would focus on if I was to write this essay. So this is just to give you some ideas. I would really encourage you to add to these ideas with your own when you write up this essay. So some of the things that I would focus on are that gender in the play is kind of just another role that we all play. When it comes to gender, Shakespeare makes a lot of use of the fact that all of his female characters would have been played by boys anyway. So to play women, they're already playing the gender, they're already putting it on. And it almost at some points to me suggests that maybe that's all that gender is. It's just a role, it's just a costume. And the second thing that I would like us to focus on is the way that Shakespeare sometimes suggests that gender is something fixed. So perhaps Shakespeare suggests that Orsino knows that Cesario is female, that's why he's attracted to Cesario, the boy. But he certainly celebrates the way that it's fun to transgress those gender boundaries. And he does this in various places throughout the play, which I'm going to try to explore now. So the first thing I would like to focus on is Viola and Viola's cross-dressing and the ways that I would think that Shakespeare celebrates this and makes use of it. But this is from the beginning of the play, when Orsino, after 3 days of knowing Cesario, calls him dear lad and says, "Believe it, for they shall yet belie thy happy years that say thou art a man. Diana's lip is not more smooth and rubious. Thy small pipe is as the maiden's organ, shrill and sound. All is semblative a woman's part." So Shakespeare's playing with gender here for fun. Obviously, there's a lot of dramatic irony. He says that Cesario's lip is not more smooth and rubious than Diana's, that his pipe, so like his Adam's apple or lack of Adam's apple, is like a woman's. All is semblative of woman's part means everything about you looks like a woman. There's a few ways that this creates humour. Firstly, the audience are going to laugh at that dramatic irony because she is a woman. But secondly, this is actually a boy playing a woman playing a boy. So even then, there's kind of a joke at the young boy actor playing a woman here. The fact that all is semblative a woman's part is something that Shakespeare's kind of laughing at. To move on from that, one of the things that I think is really interesting about Shakespeare's presentation of gender is the way that he presents Orsino's confusion. So we've seen on that last slide that Orsino sees Cesario's features as quite feminine and quite womanly. But he's also very attracted to them, even though he thinks that she is a boy. That's really interesting because it gives Shakespeare this opportunity to explore homosexuality in a way that would be not acceptable on the stage otherwise. There are many ways this play seems to celebrate that, though. It doesn't really seem to condemn Orsino for his confusion, to condemn Orsino for his attraction to a boy, although perhaps he does himself. So this moment of confusion I would also talk about in this essay. When Viola and Orsino are talking about love, and the audience know that Viola is in love with Orsino, and Orsino is totally clueless. Here, when Viola describes this song that Feste just sung, it gives a very echo to the seat where love is throned. Orsino says, "Thou dost speak masterly." That's really interesting because it's quite masculine. You're a master of something, a master of understanding love. Unfortunately, Orsino himself is not, so maybe that's why he appreciates it. "My life upon't, young though thou art, thine eye hath stayed upon some favour that it loves, hath it not, boy?" And she responds, "A little by your favour." Now we, the audience, know that what her eye has favoured is Orsino himself. Orsino's interest in Viola's attraction and Cesario's attraction in this scene often builds a really interesting kind of sexual chemistry or sexual tension. And in this RSC production that's pictured, they actually kissed in this scene and then both got very flustered by this moment. But this is certainly something that in the lines Shakespeare seems to be suggesting is happening. And yes, it's supposed to be funny for the audience that Orsino is attracted to a boy and he can't understand what's going on. But it also allows us on stage to see a male attracted to a male, something that would normally have been totally forbidden. So Shakespeare's playing with gender here kind of allows things that perhaps his society wouldn't. And that's what he takes advantage of comedy to do. Next thing I want to comment on works in a very, very similar way. And that's Olivia's confusion. Olivia's description here of Cesario: "What is your parentage? Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I am a gentleman. I'll be sworn thou art. Thy tongue, thy face, thy limbs, actions, and spirit do give thee fivefold blazon." She is extremely attracted just to Cesario's appearance here. There's again a really funny use of dramatic irony when she says, "I'll be sworn thou art," about the fact he's a gentleman, and the audience, no, actually you're talking about a woman. But again, we're seeing a woman attracted to a woman. Shakespeare is really crossing boundaries that would not have been acceptable boundaries to cross. But because this is on stage in a comedy and because we know it gets resolved by the end, it's kind of sanctioned, it's kind of allowed still. The last thing that I want to discuss is the resolution. For me, this is the most interesting part of the play when it comes to gender, because the resolution of the play kind of still celebrates gender fluidity. Because on stage, we have two boys dressed as women, or two boys playing women, one in women's costume, one again in boy's costume, but playing a woman. And we have Orsino propose to Cesario. "Cesario, come, for so you shall be while you are a man. When in other habits you are seen, Orsino's mistress and his fancy's queen, he says, I'll marry you once you're dressed as a woman again." But we never get to see that. Actually, we end the play with Cesario still a boy, and Orsino still calls her boy. He seems to accept her in a male outfit and in her male role. So even though Shakespeare is reverting to the social order and everybody marries somebody of the right gender and the right class, there's a hint here that he is still sanctioning something that otherwise would not be allowed. That in Orsino, literally in this production, getting down on one knee to Cesario, Shakespeare's kind of allowing that transgression to continue. And I think that's a really interesting part of the play. So, in answering this question, how does Shakespeare present gender? One of the things we've covered there is the way that gender is another role that we all play. Cesario manages to convince Orsino, and certainly Olivia, that she is male. She can dress up as her brother and totally convince everybody, even at one point Sebastian himself. "Do I stand there?" he says when he sees Viola dressed as him. Gender is as simple as that, a costume. Maybe, though, gender's something fixed, because Orsino does see it in Cesario. He is attracted to Cesario, even though he believes that he's male. Perhaps Shakespeare's suggesting that's because the gender there is fixed, and it's just fun to transgress it. But for me, the ending of this play suggests it's more than just fun to transgress, suggests that maybe there is something quite attractive about this situation of man kneeling, proposing, probably not kneeling in Shakespeare's time, it wasn't a thing, but a man proposing to a young boy. We get to see that on stage. Shakespeare certainly seems to be celebrating it in some ways, even if it's just the fact that he is celebrating the transgression of the social order. So I hope you enjoy having a go at writing this essay. Even if you don't have time to write the full essay, you might like to just write your introduction to kind of sum up what you've seen in this video.